So for my AP Biology project, I did the Hydra vulgaris, otherwise known as the white hydra. So species and taxonomy. The species and common name is just white hydra. Sometimes they don't even have the word white, it's just called hydra. The scientific name is Hydra vulgaris, and here's a diagram of the taxonomy. The domain is the Eukarya, the kingdom is Animalia, the phylum is Cnidaria, the class is Hydrozoa, the order is Orthocauda, the family is Hydridae, the genus is Hydra, and the species is Vulgaris. So here is a diagram of the kingdom tree. So the white hydra is part of the Animalia kingdom. The reason for this is because it's a mouth eater. It has a single mouth/anus pore. It is multicellular, it has a nucleus, and it has a cell membrane, therefore qualifying it to be an Animalia. So here's a diagram of the Cnidarian phylum. So over here we have the Hydrozoa subphylum. And the adaptations that separates the Hydrozoa from its other cousins are the epidermal gonads. Now, its closest cousins are the jellyfish. There is the Scyphozoa, the true jellyfish, the Cubozoa, the box jellyfish, and the Staurozoa, which are stalked jellyfish. Now, what separates the jellyfish from the hydras is the presence of gastric filaments. And then the jellyfish are further differentiated depending on if they have fused mouth arms, if they have complex eyes, and if they have complex ovaries. A common ancestor between the jellyfish and the hydra are the Medusozoa, and a more distant evolutionary cousin of the jellyfish and the hydra are the Anthozoa, which are the corals. So all of these, the corals, the jellyfish, and the hydras, are all part of the Cnidarian phylum. Interesting reproductive adaptations. So there are two main ways that the hydra reproduces. The first is through sexual reproduction, in which testes or ovaries will develop from the epithelial cells of the hydra, and sometimes actually both the ovaries and the testes will develop on a hydra. The testes release sperm into the water, and the ovaries, the sperm enters the ovaries and fertilizes an egg and fertilizes the hydra, essentially. So that's the first way the hydra reproduces. However, sometimes this is really not efficient and the conditions for sexual reproduction are not met. So most of the times, the hydras are actually reproduced by budding. And so what happens in budding is that actually a second hydra will grow out from the first hydra. When the second hydra becomes big enough, it will split off from the first hydra and become a whole separate organism. Interesting digestive adaptations. So the first major adaptation of the hydra is the tentacles. The tentacles are absolutely vital for its survival because one, it can defend itself from predators, two, it paralyzes prey, and three, it takes food and moves it towards the mouth/anus of the hydra. The hydra itself is composed of a single body cavity and one opening, which serves as both the mouth and the anus. So once the food passes through the mouth, digestive enzymes will be released. It will break down the food particles and absorb all the nutrients. And the waste is actually extruded through the same mouth the food came into. Third, it actually has a symbiotic relationship with algae, the hydra. And so the algae will actually at times produce it food and oxygen, and while the hydra will provide protection for the algae. Homeostasis. So the hydra actually has very interesting adaptations to maintain homeostasis. The first is non-senescence. So what this means is that the hydra doesn't age, and this is due to transcription factor forehead box O, FOXO. And this essentially allows it to prevent aging. And the second major way it maintains homeostasis is morphallaxis, which is otherwise known as regeneration. If you cut a hydra in half, both halves will actually grow up to become two separate hydras, as can be seen in this diagram. Essentially, The missing parts, which are the tentacles, will actually regenerate, and the tail will also regenerate, so you'll have two separate hydras. If you were to pulp up a hydra and then separate its cells and then put it back into an aqueous solution, the cells will actually aggregate together and reform the original hydra. So the hydra, essentially, due to non-senescence and its regenerative properties, are essentially immortal unless it gets eaten. Other ways it maintains homeostasis is through gas exchange through epithelial cells. There's no circulation because it's a very small organism and because it can remove waste through the anus. So global distribution, the hydra exists within freshwater bodies, basically rivers, lakes, ponds, things like that. And it also will be cultured by scientists in laboratories. And the reason for this is because scientists are interested in its non-aging and regenerative properties. Habitat / niche. So the main habitat of the hydra is basically any freshwater body, just like lakes, rivers, ponds. The hydras will always exist there. So the hydras contain a basal disc, which is over here, which allows it to attach to rocks, leaves, and tree trunks that are lying inside the water, and it will remain there for essentially the rest of its life. So prey and predators, the hydra feeds on small crustaceans and invertebrates, and then are consumed by larger insects. The tentacles are also a vital part of this, allows it to defend itself from predators and also capture prey more easily. And it has a symbiotic relationship with algae, which I mentioned before. The algae essentially provides it with oxygen and nutrients, and the hydra provides protection. And so that's a diagram of a hydra with algae. You can see it's green due to the algae inside the hydra. So here's a diagram of the food web. So energy from the sun goes to the producers, which are the grass and the green algae. Then the primary consumers, which are the Daphnia water flea and the rabbit, will actually eat the grass and the green algae. The secondary consumer, which is the white hydra, will consume the water flea. And then the tertiary consumer, which is the dragonfly, will consume the white hydra. So the dragonfly is then eaten by trout, which can then be eaten by humans. So actually, one of our parts of our nutrients are actually indirectly coming from the hydra. You'll also have foxes that eat the trout and foxes that eat the rabbits. Fossils. Due to the small size of the hydra, there aren't that many fossils found. However, this is one. It's called the Monozohydra megabertha, and scientists believe that this is hydra. So these parts are its tentacles, and these tentacles, again, as I stressed so much, is a vital part of its survival because it has so many functions, from acting as defense and acting as a way to help it overcome prey. Fossil record. So the first Cnidarian fossils actually appeared 650 million years ago, and hydras have remained relatively unchanged throughout the entire time period because it's so well suited for survival. It has regeneration, it has its tentacles, it has its non-senescence, it has its budding in case it can't find a mate. So due to all these adaptations, the hydra is extremely capable of survival. Even during the Permian period, which contained a mass extinction of cnidarians, the hydra was still able to survive and proliferate. Here is my bibliography where I got my images, such as the food web, or not the food web, it's like where I got my information to make the food web, to make the phylum tree, to make essentially everything. So